So howdy y'all, this is Fatheree with another Tex-Trek officer's vlog, just to provide some updates on the massive news that came out of Star Trek Las Vegas this weekend. I'm sure everyone out there has already heard about this, but we finally have confirmation that Patrick Stewart is returning to Star Trek to play Jean-Luc Picard. I'm just going to take a minute to go over all the details, all the official information we received, and share my thoughts on it as well. But sadly, I decided not to attend Star Trek Las Vegas this year, and I've had some real major con envy the last few days. Saturday, I was, kind of disappointed that I wasn't there, but I was hearing all this stuff online that Alex Kurtzman was going to be making a big announcement on stage. For those who don't know, Alex Kurtzman was put in charge of all Star Trek on TV projects for the next few years. Saturday afternoon, I got a message from PJ, a friend of ours here at Tex-Trek, that someone was live streaming a video of Kurtzman on stage. And it just so happened that at that time, Saturday afternoon, my girlfriend and I were actually watching some Next Generation. And that's just what we do in my house. We watch a lot of Star Trek. But I quickly switched the TV over to this live stream on YouTube. I don't want to say whose channel it was because I don't want to get them in trouble. I think there might have been some rules against streaming during some of these presentations like that. But I'll admit it, I was glad that they were streaming this because I got to see it in real time. And I saw Patrick Stewart join Alex Kurtzman on stage. And the audience there in Vegas was just going absolutely nuts. I pretty much knew right then and there exactly what was happening, but Sir Patrick drew it out a little bit. He's a performer. He likes to have an audience, and he just went on this little story talking about how when he first came into Star Trek as an unknown actor, and he was going to play this character, Captain Picard. He got the job back in 1987, didn't really know what it would grow into. He talked about how hard they worked on that show to make it as good as possible, though, and he basically said he was very proud of the work he had done playing Captain Picard and felt he was done with that and was moving on to different things in his career. But he talked about how the world is in a much darker place lately and that he has actually been going back and watching a lot of the old Next Gen episodes these last few months. And that it has been a real reminder to him how optimistic Star Trek is and how reassuring it can be, especially when things in the present aren't so great, to have this vision of a better tomorrow. And after building up to it for a few minutes, he finally confirmed that Jean-Luc is coming back. So what we know for sure is that the new Star Trek show will be set about 20 years after Nemesis. Patrick Stewart told us there are no finished scripts at this time. So I'm thinking by the time the show goes into production and then finally drops, it'll be the year 2020. That will make it 18 years after Nemesis came out in 2002, so the timeline matches up. It'll be about 20 years after in real life and in the Star Trek timeline. Patrick Stewart also said that Picard might not be a captain anymore on the new show. So that's very interesting to me. I kind of like this change, though. He stressed that he would be a changed man after this 20-year gap. So we might be seeing Picard as a diplomat, or maybe he's just retired and going on archaeological expeditions, maybe teaching at the academy. I don't really want to see him as an admiral because I think Picard, heeding the advice given to him by Captain Kirk in Star Trek Generations, when Kirk told him to stay in that chair as long as possible, I feel like Picard would stay a captain his entire career at Starfleet. So what I'm hoping for is a post-Starfleet Picard who is unexpectedly pulled back into some kind of Star Trek adventure, some type of traditional Star Trek story. We also know, based on what Alex Kurtzman said not that long ago at Comic-Con, that all new Star Trek TV shows will be on CBS All Access here in the United States. So I have a feeling that a lot of these Star Trek fans who have been holding out on subscribing to All Access are going to have to think twice about that, and a lot of them are going to give in here and finally pull the trigger on that subscription to get this new Star Trek show with Patrick Stewart. But If you want my opinion, it is totally worth it. I love the production value that has gone into Star Trek Discovery, and I want this show to get the same quality, the same kind of treatment. A few weeks ago, before Comic-Con, I was saying that the best thing Alex Kurtzman could do, the best case scenario, would be to have Patrick Stewart make a surprise entrance on stage and announce that this Picard show was actually going to be a thing that was going to happen. It had been heavily rumored for a while, and I think a post-Nemesis show, which a lot of us have really been asking for, a show that is starring arguably the most popular character since Spock, putting Picard front and center, that is the biggest crowd pleaser they could possibly throw at the fan base. And I'm kind of glad that they waited until Vegas to announce this instead of doing it at Comic-Con. For all I know, they couldn't do it at Comic-Con. They might have still been negotiating. But, the way it played out, Comic-Con gave the more mainstream audience a great look at Star Trek Discovery Season 2. The trailer really went over well, and the Hall H presentation they did really promoted Star Trek Discovery. Then a couple weeks later at STLV, the more purely Star Trek fan venue, they give us this big news that really is electrifying the fan base. When Patrick Stewart did finally confirm that Picard was coming back and that this would be a show about Jean-Luc Picard, the audience went absolutely crazy.
Jean-Luc Picard is back.
This is the biggest news we've had in the franchise in years. The only thing I could think of that's kind of comparable was back over a decade ago when J.J. Abrams announced a new Star Trek movie with Leonard Nimoy, when they were first announcing Star Trek 09. I remember that being like a really big deal, and that's kind of the only thing that compares to this in recent Star Trek history. But I want to know what y'all think. How do you feel about the news? And I really want to hear what you think the show might be about, or what you hope it will be about. What other characters you hope to see, stuff like that. So let us know. And thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to keep checking out our podcast episodes, and please subscribe to the channel to get more updates like this. And until next time, live long and prosper, y'all.